Cooper, you're up.
Um, as someone who grew up in the 80s and like lived for your jackets, I just want to say it's a beyond pleasure to meet you. You kept me warm through all the New York winters, so thank you. And I very much contributed to that, the $4 billion. That being said, totally did. That being said, and still do, you know, Mark actually took my actual initial question, but you're talking a lot about in the beginning, you talked about kids and AI and job skills, and you teach and you surround yourself with young kids. So as a mom of a 17-year-old soon to be graduating from high school and then a daughter who just graduated from college, I need to talk, a lot of questions were surrounding entrepreneurs, but you're surrounding yourself with young people, you're teaching these young people. What are you teaching them? What are you talking to them about? What are you saying to them in this new and interesting world that we're currently living in with AI and just everything at their fingertips? Like, what guidance, what advice are you giving to them? What's like the one big thing you're telling them?
There's a couple levels of advice. I mean, the first one, and I serve this purpose wherever I go, is that people look at me and say, "God, if he can do it, I can do it." And if, and if you tell the kids, if you can, that is something they should know. It isn't like it's out there; it's inside all of us. And I think also, I wrote the book almost about failure, and the reason I did, I'd already written one about success, but as one of the agents once told me, he said, "Go into the bookstores. How many racks do you see about failure and how many racks do you see about success?" And I said, well, maybe that you need more books about failure. He said, well, I'm not sure that's the case. Well, I do think it's the case. And I think that you're going to fail, not you, but all of us, at new things we try and new ideas. And failure should not be the end. Failing forward is the way to go. One of the fears that many young people have is, well, if I do it wrong, what's going to happen? And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, that's not a very good attitude to have. When I speak at like Stanford Business School and Harvard Business School, MIT, one of the things I tell them is I say, you're trying to be entrepreneurs, you're screwed. You've spent your whole life doing it correctly, right? Your parents wanted you to get in the right grade school, middle school, or whatever. You're always rewarded for doing it. You never want to screw up. You go to college. Now you're thinking of your graduate degrees. And if you ever did anything wrong, you're lost. And so now you're going to start a business where 80% fail. And on top of that, you're going to have to pivot 2 or 3 times. I said, that's not a very good background for it. So I would encourage them to believe that it's okay to fail, not fail in a big way. Cut your losses when you're there, but it's okay to try something and do something new. And then what I would encourage them to do is follow their passion, identify what it is that they really care about. I've got 3 grandsons, and they're all entirely different, but they're all kind of dedicated to doing what they're doing. One's studying in Madrid right now, and he's into architecture and entrepreneurship. Another one is a professional soccer player, and he sat down at age 10 and said, I want to play pro soccer. And he wrote down his goals, and he pursued those goals. He went to Stanford because he wanted a degree, but he raced through in 3 years because he didn't want to be too old to get on the pro circuit, and was able to sign a contract to move forward. And the 4th one is an 8th grader, and he believes in STEM, and that's his thing. And he's in the robotics club, and is in engineering, and he's doing all of it. The common thread is, yes, you can do it. Yes, you should try to do it. Focus on the things that you really enjoy and that you are more into than anybody else, and you're going to be good at it. And recognize right now, you don't have to be right in the first job or the second job. The average person in the US right now is going to have 12 jobs in their adult life. And it comes from a variety of things. The average age of a company has dropped from 67 years to 15 years. The length of time that people spend in a job is going to be tied to technology a lot of times, and technology is changing too much, so you move on somewhere else with what you're doing. So the reality is, if you don't get it right the first time, or you don't get it right the second time, you still have another shot at it.
Such good advice.
Thank you.
Such good advice.